Welcome back, everybody, to the channel. This is the Reluctant Gringo. It's a Tuesday morning, and I was sitting here having my coffee and playing with my dog Caesar when the Oscar nominations decided to come out. And as always, I do have my opinion on it. Now, if you haven't seen, Oppenheimer is leading it with 13 different nominations, followed by Killers of the Flower Moon. Poor Things has 11 nominations. If you haven't seen Poor Things, they describe that movie as a feminist fantasy set in a steampunk world of mutants and male chauvinist pigs. Don't think that's one many of you are going to want to go see, but hey, if you have, let me know in the comment section below what you thought. Again, Killers of the Flower Moon, 10 nominations. Those seem to be the big ones. Barbie, not as many nominations, 8 nominations, and so we'll get into that. But let's get into the actual category. So I want to make this a little quick video for you guys, a little reaction for you. So let's start out with Best Picture. So we get American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, of course, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, The Zone of Interest. Now, we all know, at least I think we all know, Oppenheimer should win this thing hands down. I could see Killers of the Flower Moon stealing it from them. I don't think Barbie is going to get there. And we'll get into that in a second. I don't think any of these other really unknown independent films have a chance of beating Oppenheimer, maybe American Fiction. But other than that, I don't see any of these other films making it. So it really should be, this should be Christopher Nolan's year with Oppenheimer. Best Director, of course, Christopher Nolan's in there. And here's where the biggest snub, I think, or one of the bigger snubs or most notable snubs come in, is Greta Gerwig for Barbie is not nominated. So for Best Director, we've got Anatomy of a Fall with Justine Triet. Martin Scorsese is of course, there. Killers of the Flower Moon, Christopher Nolan. Yorgos Lanthimos, Poor Things, and Jonathan Glazer, The Zone of Interest. Now, Zone of Interest is a British film. That probably win Best Foreign Film in that category, but it's not going to win any of these. I think Best Director, of course, goes to Christopher Nolan. Martin Scorsese could snag that, but other than that, it's a two-man race right there. I think Christopher Nolan's got the lead. Getting into the acting categories, we get actor in a leading role. Similar names. Here we go. Bradley Cooper, Coleman Domingo, Paul Giamatti, Cillian Murphy, Jeffrey Wright. Now, Cillian Murphy's been sweeping up all the awards, so it's expected he'll win this one, and he deserves it. Paul Giamatti is a dark horse. Jeffrey Wright, of course, is a dark horse. But it should be Cillian's to take home. If anyone upsets it, it's Paul Giamatti. I think if anybody is going to take that away, it's going to be him for his work in The Holdovers and just his overall body of work. He's a great actor. And if you don't know who he is, you should know who he is. He's just a great actor. Nothing against Jeffrey Wright, who does well on his own. Bradley Cooper, who's been there, or Coleman Domingo. But this is a two-man race with Cillian Murphy well in the lead. Going on to actress in a leading role, here's where it gets a little murkier. Annette Bening, she's always there for Naiad. Lily Gladstone, who's probably the favorite with Killers of the Flower Moon, and I've really soured on her as being a likable individual in the last week or so, and I'll get into that in a second. Sandra Hüller for Anatomy of Fall, Carey Mulligan, Maestro, Emma Stone, Poor Things. Emma Stone could win this for Poor Things. She's getting a lot of buzz, but I think it's going to go to Lily Gladstone. Native American, checks all the boxes. She's won the other awards. Now, lately, she's come out and she's really been critical of things like Yellowstone, that television show, and that thing. She's really injected politics into a lot of the things that she's looking at, and just makes it unlikable, makes her unlikable. She calls certain shows like Yellowstone the conservative shows, the red state shows, things like that. Again, everybody's entitled to their opinion. Doesn't mean I got to like it or you have to like it. It just makes her unlikable. It just makes me want to go, you know what? You're not somebody I think I want to see again. And you're probably a one-trick pony. I don't think anyone's going to really be hiring her for much after this, even if she does win the Oscar. I just can't see it. She fit the role that she was playing. I don't know if she's got the acting chops to actually do something different, but it's probably hers to win. But maybe Emma Stone snags that for Poor Things for the, again, feminist fantasy, steampunk, male chauvinist pig movie. I guess we'll kind of move on from that right now. Actor in a supporting role. This is the category with the competition right here. We got Sterling K. Brown for American Fiction, a great actor. Ryan Gosling for Barbie, getting a lot of press, getting a lot of awards. Mark Ruffalo, Poor Things. Now, again, people might not like Mark Ruffalo for his politics. The guy can act, and he acts his ass off in Poor Things here. And from the scenes that I've seen on YouTube, he's had a lot of clips, and I've kind of checked in on those, and he does a really good job. But then you got Robert Downey Jr., who I think is the favorite and should win it for Oppenheimer for his role. I think this is his year to get an Oscar. But he's also got Robert De Niro for Killers of the Flower Moon. And Robert De Niro is, let's face it, again, like him for his politics, don't like him for his politics. You find him as a likable person or not. He's arguably one of the top 5, maybe, or top 10, if that's how you want to put it, greatest actors in the history of cinema. It's just, no matter how old he is or what role he's in. I mean, he's Robert De Niro. There's very few things that you can point to and say, wow, that was a poor role. I mean, he's done some bad movies, don't get me wrong, but I mean, most of the time he's just at the top of his game and has continued to be for a very, very long time. So could I see Robert De Niro getting another Academy Award? Yeah. Do I think he wants it and cares? No, he doesn't care. But I think Robert Downey Jr. should get this award. I think he's going to get this award. It also wouldn't surprise me, like I said, if Ryan Gosling or Mark Ruffalo snag it. So that to me is the category with the most competition. For actress in a supporting role, again, my favorite has been Emily Blunt for Oppenheimer. Now she's been getting shut out everywhere. But as I look at this category, this one's a stacked category as well. Danielle Brooks, who's one of the only, I think, The Color Purple. We'll go back to the best pictures and the snubs there because I want to get back to that in a second. But I'd rather go through this list. Danielle Brooks for The Color Purple, America Ferrera, Barbie. Jodie Foster, Naiad. Now, nothing against Divine Joy Randolph for Holdovers, but Jodie Foster, I'm sort of a big fan of Jodie Foster and her work. She is, to me, one of the great. She's like Robert De Niro. She's just putting in performance after performance after performance. She's just been great. She is as talented as they get, and she's been doing it since she was a teenager. There's very few things that she does that I look at and go, that wasn't good. I mean, from Taxi Driver to Silence of the Lambs to The Accused, which she won the Oscar for, all the way up to her stuff that she's doing now. She's in some sort of I want to check out her show, True Detective, and see the season that she's doing. But she's just been incredible, almost everything she's ever done. So I can see her taking this award. Now, do I think Emily Blunt deserves it for Oppenheimer for this one turn? Yes. But I can see Jodie Foster being up on that stage. After that, we get into sort of the screenplay, the cinematography, the technical awards. Again, adapted screenplay, Oppenheimer, written for the screen by Christopher Nolan. Again, he could win another Oscar there for the book American Prometheus, which is one of the most dense biographies. And to pare that down and put that into a movie, incredible. So I think that's what's going to win. Original screenplay, I can see Maestro getting that, or Past Lives, or really Anatomy of a Fall. That one's open wide. Cinematography, again, it's a race between Killers of the Flower Moon and Oppenheimer. And again, I think Oppenheimer edges it out just a little bit. If you care about songs, and I kind of cared about the song here for a second because I was surprised Wonka did not have anything in this category. Wonka has absolutely zero nominations anywhere. We'll get into that in a second. Costume design, sound, original score, if you care about all that. But really, I would like to get back down to the animated. And I think with the animated feature film, you got The Boy and the Heron, and you got Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Do I think Elemental belongs in that category right now? No, that was a terrible movie. Nimona, Robot Dreams. I haven't seen either one of those, so I can't comment. But I think with The Boy and the Heron and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, knowing the quality of those two films, that's where it comes down to. And I could see Spider-Man taking it, and I could see The Boy and the Heron taking it. Two fabulous films. But other than that, the last category we'll talk about is visual effects, just because I love it that Godzilla -1 is in there. And I would love it if those guys walked away with that Oscar to do the work that they did on the budget that they had. Phenomenal, incredible. Nothing against Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, nothing against Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning Part 1, nothing against Napoleon, but to do what they did on the budget that they had, to make it look as good as they did, I just think that's just a job that just deserves a lot of credit and a lot of praise and appreciation. Now let's get back to the whole Best Picture thing here. So, they have a lot of Best Pictures. You got American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. Now, there are some things that aren't there. For me, and again, this is personally just me, The Sound of Freedom not being there. Again, I understand why. It's Hollywood and it's political and they don't want to touch that stuff because it's too close to home, let's face it. But The Sound of Freedom, for the impact that it had and for how well of a film it was on the budget that it was, I think deserves a nomination. The Color Purple's not in there. And again, they have a musical, or sort of a musical with Barbie. The Color Purple, not an original. It's a remake. It's a musical remake, so I can see why it's not in there. So not too hurt over that, or not too. So I don't think that's too controversial. It didn't get a lot of nominations, which some people might think is controversial. For me, Wonka, I think, deserves some nominations in some of the technical categories, some of the musical categories, maybe not necessarily directing or acting. I mean, I thought it was great. I loved Wonka. I think past Oppenheimer, there's The Sound of Freedom, there's Wonka. Those two movies I enjoyed just incredibly. I just enjoyed them so much this year. And I know there were very few films, that I think everybody enjoyed throughout the year. It was a hard, Kills of Flower Moon. I enjoyed it, but I think it was tough to find good entertainment this time around this year. So, but I believe Wonka should have gotten some things in there. I really can't think of too much else that was snubbed. People always talk about the snubs. What was left out? Greta Gerwig not being in Best Director. Again, I think is one of the biggest subs. We've got Margot Robbie not being in the Best Actress. Again, that could be considered a snub. She's nominated. She's one of the producers, so she is kind of nominated. But the one thing I will say this about Barbie, I think it's hard to nominate a film as Best Picture and not have the director nominated. And it might just be a case that there's only 5 spots in the Best Director category, and they had to cut somewhere. They had to cut someone somewhere, and that might be the case. But again, I think I'm a lot like people out there, just normal people that aren't part of the Academy. The Academy looks at things, in a different perspective, a different light. I look at things that's like, was it a good movie, and what was the cultural impact on it from that movie? And I think Barbie, if you liked Barbie, you didn't like Barbie, you cannot deny that it had a cultural impact. If you didn't like Oppenheimer, or you liked Oppenheimer, you can't deny that it didn't have a cultural impact. And again, I think that's why Sound of Freedom belongs in there. It had a cultural impact. So it's things like that. But those are your nominations. Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you for listening. I'll be back later on today. I got some more comic book stuff coming out, and hopefully you enjoy that. And check out my other videos here. I'm going to put on a couple of playlists here for you to check out. But on that, good morning to you. And from south of the border, I'm still your reluctant gringo. Salud and a huevo.